Welcome to the High Ticket Success Podcast, where premium coaches, consultants, and advisors come for bold strategies, big breakthroughs, and real results. I'm your host, Dave Dubeau. So chances are, if you've been in business for yourself for a while, you know that it's important to keep your customers happy. But the question might be, how good of a job are we doing at this? Like, how customer centric is our business really? Well, today's special guest, zooming in from one of my favorite cities, Austin, Texas, is Laura Patterson. And Laura knows all about this. And that's what she's focusing on, is helping us create truly customer-centric businesses. So Laura, welcome to the show. Great to have you.
Thank you for having me, Dave. I'm delighted to be here.
Well, let's start with a definition because everybody kind of thinks they know what customer-centric means. What does it really mean to you?
Yeah, that is an excellent question, and I'm so glad because I believe that it's important that we have this common vocabulary when we're talking with each other, because that's
Yeah,
where people have the most tendency to disconnect is they're talking across each other because they're not using the same terms. So for
that might
us,
explain my failed first marriage. I don't know. Might be part of it.
I'm going to just move past that.
Go right ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to
And
throw you off, Laura. Go ahead.
so in our business, customer centricity for us is that you are keeping your customer in mind in all of the decisions that you're making as a business person. It doesn't mean necessarily that you are going to cater to every customer's whim, right? And it doesn't mean that you're going to give away your business in order to keep a customer happy. There's only so much you can do if you want to stay in business. But it does mean that the decisions that you're making every single day, you are thinking about the impact of those decisions that will have on your customers, and that ideally, you want to create value for your customers because that's what they pay you for. We get money in exchange for delivering value. And when we have,
Well, to me, superficially, this sounds like common sense. And the other question would be is, what do you see most businesses actually doing if they're not doing that?
oh, okay, it does seem like common sense, but
Yeah.
actually, in the world of B2B, which is where I spend the majority of my time,
Yeah.
which for our customers typically have fairly complex products that take multiple people in the buying decision and in the
Mm,
buying journey. So it's
yeah.
very consultative often in nature. And
Okay.
so in those kinds of situations, you might have a product-centric company which says, we make the coolest stuff and our stuff is so cool, you should buy it. And we can see that happen. We probably know companies where that happens. And you know those companies because when you look at their P&L, a lot of money goes into R&D. And these are companies that are really trying to be ahead of even the market. So everyone's just talking about
Well,
AI.
Apple comes to mind and they're doing all right.
Pardon?
Apple kind of comes to mind and they're doing all
Apple
right.
would fall
Yeah.
there. And I was just thinking about, since everyone's talking about AI these days, when
Mhm.
when ChatGPT first came on the scene a few years back, we didn't even know that we needed ChatGPT. And now who got through a day without ChatGPT, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So you're in, and that is a thinking ahead. You're creating a new category. You're creating new opportunities. Another very common model is sales centric. You have a bunch of people knocking on doors or making phone calls or sending out emails or whatever they're doing on, those companies because salespeople pretty much run the show. And they have a number at the beginning of the month or the beginning of the quarter, whatever it is, and they're running and gunning, and they might discount your product or even sell things you don't make yet or any number of things. That's a sales centric company. And
Okay.
and saying yes to things that the company cannot deliver in the time frame in which or they are promising. And so
Mhm.
that creates a lot of challenges in terms of being customer centric when you promise something you don't have yet, or you can't make yet, or you can't deliver yet. Um, and so those are just some examples. Those aren't the only examples, but those are definitely different.
No, that's making sense. That's okay. That's landing with me now. Okay. I'm getting it. So most of our audience, Laura, are kind of small business people, self-employed, like premium consultants, advisors,
Yep.
coaches, those kind of folks.
Yes.
So one would assume that they would be customer centric or client centric, but where do you see people like that typically making the biggest mistakes?
Mhm. Well, I work with a lot of people like that, and I'm in a
Mm.
number of communities comprised of people in those areas.
Yeah.
And oftentimes, many of those people have created lifestyle companies, right? This
Okay.
is
Yeah.
a it's not a hobby, um, but this is sort of how they've had long careers, many of them already, and
Hmm.
now are creating a company that is designed to fit the lifestyle that they want to have with the kinds of customers they want to serve, right?
Well, sounding good to me so far.
Of course, it sounds good. And so the challenge you often have is balancing that with what customers you are serving, right? Because
Okay.
that would be a balancing act that you would have to make, decisions. And if you decide that you want to grow your organization, you might have to change your thinking about that balance. Because in order, right, all of a sudden, maybe if you do want to be bigger than you are at the moment, you might have to give up some weekend time and do something to make a customer deliverable because the customer needs something at X date even though you were planning on something else with that time.
I
So,
see.
time, for most of the people that you're referring to, time is the most precious asset we bring to the table.
Right.
For all of us, time is probably the most precious asset, and it is for our customers too.
Hmm.
And you know that old saying, there's, price, quality, speed are the
Pick
three
one. Pick
variables,
two.
right?
Yeah,
Pick
pick two out
two.
of the three. Yeah.
Pick two.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so when you're thinking about being a consultant or a coach or a solopreneur or a small business, you're having to think about which of those two are you promising to deliver because that's your value proposition. You're going to get the best quality at the best price, but it may not happen right away. That might be a craftsman, right?
Hmm.
You might
Yeah.
get the best price and you might get it fast, but no guarantee it's without error. So,
Yeah.
right? So I think that you have to think about what is important to your customer in those scenarios. That would be more customer centric. If you are going to be customer centric, which of those two are of most value to your customers, not
Not
necessarily
just
of
to you.
most value to you?
Okay. I think I see where you're going with this, Laura. So again, let's play in the swimming pool with the advisors, consultants, coaches. So
Sure.
they're listening to this going, okay, maybe I should be a little bit more client centric. What are usually the first steps? Like what do you recommend to people to because sometimes we're so close to it. I'm thinking about myself, right? Sometimes we're so close to it. We might think we're client centric, but we aren't. So how would you number one realize that? And number two, what would be the first steps to fixing it?
Well, there's a couple of things. The first thing I always say is don't assume that you think you know the answers to all things about your customers. Be ask good questions. I think one of the most important values of I may not have all the answers in my business. I run a growth consulting firm, a growth strategy firm,
Yeah,
but I do know how to ask the right questions. And so asking good questions can get very important to getting the insights you need in order to be more customer centric. I think oftentimes we feel compelled, particularly if we're an advisor or a coach, we're supposed to know everything. Now, I'm not talking about those coaches who answer every question that a customer has with a question. I'm not looking for a therapist here. I'm talking about real business
yeah,
deliverables. Your customer is coming to you for your expertise. They are looking for answers or some kind of a deliverable. And the more tangible you can make that deliverable as a coach or an advisor, the better.
right,
And the more of a methodology or a framework you can have, like we have Circle Attraction or P4 or other types of excellence, other types of frameworks, the more you can make that concrete and tangible, the better for your customer because that's something that they can uh, understand and grab onto. So first, be good at asking questions. Don't assume. If you don't have an advisory board of customers, you might think about doing that people that you work closely with for a long time who know your value and maybe some new people um, to really learn, what are the challenges they have. And the next thing, always remember that sometimes your customer that you are serving is not the end in the chain. They have a customer or they have others they may be serving. So you want to understand the next step in the conversation. I can give you X. Why is X important? What is
Hmm.
X going to enable you to do better, and to do better for whom, right? And what
Right.
is it the people next in line from that decision are going to do with what you do? So you can, I think a lot of times we're only thinking about the very next person in the conversation. And I think that's important. So then lastly, and I know this is a little long-winded, but as a coach or an advisor, that you need to make a business decision every day. I mean, I think the last time I heard, Dave, the average person makes 3,500 decisions in a day. So a huge number. And if you're a business person, you're making a huge number of those decisions for your business. And so the question I always ask is, what do you need to know in order to make those decisions that will create more value for your customers? Where do you get that information? And if you don't know the answer, how are you going to get the answer? So those kinds of things. I think, it's about being curious, learning, asking good questions. I know it was kind of a long answer, but maybe
You
that's a
lost
good
me on the
answer.
last one a little bit, knowing like number three. So if you wouldn't mind
Yeah.
reframing that, that'd be great.
Okay. So for every business decision you need to make, what is it you need to know to make that decision? And do you have the information you need in order to make that decision? If you don't, where are you going to get that information in order to make that decision? Where are you going to go to get it? And if it's customer related decisions, you might want to be thinking about talking to customers.
There you go. So there's your board of advisors. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Excellent. So Laura, who do you guys typically work with? Who's your ideal client avatar?
Most of our customers, as I said, are B2B.
Hmm.
They're usually mid-market or larger, so they're not startups and they're not usually very small.
Hmm.
Uh, they usually have very complex products, so they might be a bioscience company, a life science company, industrial manufacturing company, a technology company, a logistics company, and they are typically serving other businesses. So they're B2B in the sense that they are businesses typically serving other businesses.
Okay, interesting.
And oftentimes their biggest challenge is uh, figuring out how to find more customers, keep the ones they have, and grow the ones they have. So they're thinking about things like, how do I get new products in the market that customers want and will buy quickly? How do I go up against the competition? So how do I position these products successfully? Um, what do I need to know about my competition and my customers in order to do a better job? Those
Yeah.
kinds of questions. Where can I go? What kind of segments can I serve or
So
grow?
that's interesting. So it sounds like a lot of the customers that you work with probably start out as product centric businesses. How do you, or maybe this would be fun. Can you tell us a story about one of your favorite success stories of turning one of these product centric businesses into being much more customer centric, with or without names? Like
Yeah,
just,
no names. We
yeah,
won't
yeah,
we won't do names. And yes, many of them do start off as being product centric,
yeah.
but not always. Sometimes they have built a product and they're market centric. They actually are not the first to market with a product, but they are drafting a market. And you're seeing that happen in AI right now, right? All these
Mhm.
things that have mushroomed up, those are companies that are drafting the wave and hoping that they're going to strike it rich while the iron is hot, so to
Yeah,
speak.
riding on the coattails of ChatGPT.
Yes, that's a market-centric kind of company.
Hmm.
So a good example might be a company who has brought a brand new product to market, and they maybe did some but minimal customer research, um, and minimal understanding of the competitive landscape, and they're not seeing much traction in the market, and they don't understand why they're not. And so when they start having a conversation, maybe with a little bit of a nudge from a firm like ours to do some maybe focus groups or actual real customer research and real competitive intelligence, not actually just going on to the internet and doing some research or doing some chat GPT or AI platform oriented queries, but actual real customer research, they might find out that they've got a positioning or messaging problem, that the real
Mm.
reason it's not getting traction is that the value proposition to the marketplace and to the people that they were trying to connect with isn't there. In fact, they're not even talking to the right people, right?
Uh,
Right. They might not even be talking
they're
to
they're
the
talking
right
about
people.
their widget, all about their widget to the wrong audience instead of
Correct.
talking about what the widget does to the
Yes.
right audience. Yeah.
Yes. And so to change that, right? And you might actually come to the conclusion that the market that you thought this was for isn't even the market you're talking to.
Hmm.
Not only is it not the right people, but you might not even be in the right market. And so if you're more customer centric, you probably wouldn't have wasted all that time and money, because that was expensive, right?
Yeah.
All that time and money bringing something to market that didn't have the right messaging behind it and the right target market behind it. You started the conversation today with who's your ideal customer,
Hmm.
right? That would be an example of an ideal customer for
Yeah.
us.
Yeah. Yeah.
But a lot of people do think they know who their customer is. Um, and that isn't always necessarily true.
Yeah. Most definitely. Well, very well said. Laura, if people want to find out more, get connected with you, find out about your book, where should they go?
Oh, well, visionedgemarketing.com is our website, and you can always reach me either on LinkedIn or by email at laurap@visionedgemarketing.com.
Fantastic. Laura, thanks so much for being on the show.
Oh, thank you, Dave. I hope this was helpful and that everyone will take away at least one good idea.
I think they will. All right, everybody. See you on the next one. Thanks for listening to the High Ticket Success Podcast. Want to be featured, share your story, and inspire other premium coaches, consultants, and advisors? Apply now at highticketsuccesspodcast.com/guest.